This is an RFC RFI. I want to know what's happened in the undercurrent of the Las Vegas shooting uh, community recently to drive people to find my videos that mention specifically uh, Hoover or John Cullen, depending on what name he's using, whatever it is. Are you a government plant or something? You really just not that bright? I'm going with a ladder. Watch the footage and see the choppers in the air and the muzzle flashes. Then try doing a video on reality instead of hyperbole. The video got to the point, and here it is for you so you don't waste too much of your time. Johnny Cullen, or Johnny Hoover, or whatever you want to call him, heard audio on one of the video recordings of the Las Vegas shooting right before the shooting started that made a really, really low frequency thump noise. Thump, 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 thump. Maybe it would sound like suppressed fire to somebody. The problem is that's identical to the noise that a GoPro with a built-in Wi-Fi circuit makes if it's not properly shielded. There was a recall of these things a while ago, and it's really easy to compare the sound. You can hear this in a lot of recordings that were done with GoPros. It's hard to get rid of the noise. You have to use a cutoff filter in software to get rid of it. And all you have to do is type in GoPro, Wi-Fi, noise. 90% of the videos are talking about this annoying thumping noise. Sometimes you can hear it easily, sometimes you can't. If it's really, really quiet, sometimes it's easier to hear, or sometimes when it's noisy. Depends on the conditions. And Johnny Cullen or Johnny Hoover or whatever he wants to call himself heard this and tried to allude to this being proof that there was a shooter in a helicopter or something at the time. Doesn't matter what he was doing at the time. But people started pointing out, yeah, I have the same thing on mine. It's probably a GoPro. It's from the Wi-Fi. When he was shut down immediately by a simple technical glitch that had a recall effort by the company and hundreds of videos, he probably typed in GoPro, GoPro Wi-Fi noise, probably found lots of videos with the same sound. He had to make one of two decisions. Admit he was making a mistake or never do so. That doesn't show that he's a good source of information if he doesn't admit that that was a mistake. He's never actually acknowledged that the sounds are similar. I bring up a video with information that points out that most of the lights that are being assumed to be helicopters are actually airplanes in the distance, that you can find them on flight radar. I point out the impracticality of shooting a helicopter that's going at least X number of meters or feet or whatever, a very long distance, blocks and blocks further away than shooting from the Mandalay Bay. I bring up the fact that the strobe don't match the sound of the shots, so they're not muzzle flashes. They're strobes on airplanes, and some of them are actually helicopters. Most of them are airplanes. And I also bring up, in one of the videos I have, someone said, well, the flash of that has to be a muzzle flash because it matches. No, it doesn't, because I could show on, I did a video on it. I literally checked the color balancing and everything. No, it's the wrong color. It's on the muzzle flash. It just wasn't. I've gone through and done all of these hoop jumps while somebody just keeps repeating over and over again, 2 + 2 = 5. And you keep wanting to post this. Now, this happened a long time ago. Okay, this was October 2017. All right? So I've got a video up from that time pointing out that he made a mistake. I mean, it's just a simple, stupid mistake. And he won't own it. And he kept posting it. He became fixated on it. It stopped being about solving a crime and just not dropping a subject, mostly to just heckle people. So your first assertion, this is one of 2 or 3 comments over the last week. I mean, nobody's been commenting on Las Vegas for a long time. Are you a government plant or something? No. John Cullen is. If you walked into the briefing that the police department gave in Las Vegas right after the shooting and said what I'm going to say in a minute, you would be hated by them and they'd need to make you look like Cullen. Hi, excuse me for a moment, officer, sir, but could you have really done anything in the 15 minutes it took that, Stephen Paddock to fire a gun and do this? And he would have to say no, because there really isn't anything you can do. It takes 15 minutes even to figure out what the hell is going on. In fact, it took longer than the time he was shooting to figure out what the fuck had just happened. And, of course, I might ask, did you have more of an effect than the 2 employees at the building that caused them to stop for a minute and shoot at them instead, drawing their fire by accident? They weren't trying to, but they ended up doing so. No, they didn't accomplish more than the 2 bumbles in the building. They blundered into this. They ended up getting fired upon. There are YouTube channels that tested, not trusted, not believed, not signal boosted, but actually tested shit. Farmers for Truth actually set up a bracket almost identical to the one that Paddock used to seal off the stairwell, and made sure that he tested it. And he found out something he didn't know by just testing it. Pure science. Beautiful. A bunch of other channels did audio comparison with phase shifts and all the other kind of things accounted for, and time delays, and found out where the sound came from. Other people figured out from flight radar that if you actually stopped looking right before your nose and actually took in the big picture, you could find out that most of the strobes were actually planes flying in the area, and they synced up perfectly. There were channels that expended a huge amount of effort comparing actual machine gun and actual bump stock firing and actual other guns that were being claimed to be the one to the sounds from the Las Vegas shooting. I'm one of them. I sat there in Audacity and resplit the audio so you could hear them, so you could tell whether or not you're being lied to. We all did the effort that you guys were lazy about that made these assertions and posted them on Facebook. We're fighting the deep state by lying about what happened in Las Vegas. Great, guys. You're not government shills or government plants, like this guy said, making anybody who actually double checks the police department after a shooting look bad or look like crazy people. CNN went to the trouble of featuring my face in a video montage of Sandy Hook truthers when I debunk Sandy Hook truthers. That's mainstream media in a nutshell. I've hated CNN ever since they wouldn't release unaltered versions of their video. All their video feeds and every bit of information they ever put out about September 11th or any other shooting always have to have their banners and bullshit on it. During a very large-scale holy shit moment, turn off your advertising for a little while and document things. You're journalists. You're video journalists and photojournalists. Fucking do your job. But I'm the one who's being an asshole. I'm the one who gets featured nastily on CNN as a Sandy Hook truther. Because just like truthers, you have to state the actual polar opposite of something to make an effect on things, apparently. So when I show you a video where I explain that a YouTube video by a person on YouTube, some random YouTuber, made a simple mistake and won't own it anymore, I'm an asshole. I'm working for the government to make you look bad because I can do so much better than some guy making a mistake on YouTube and not letting go of it. John Cullen, or Hoover, or whatever he wants to call himself, is a prototypical example of controlled opposition. Or he literally is just delusional enough to think that literally having facts thrown in his face is somehow an assault on his integrity. He actually treated it that way at one point. Lots of channels were like that. When the Pizzagate conspiracy bullshit came out, we had some guy who played it being a hacker, who made assertions about how his source, so he wouldn't have to explain anything, was able to hack into a system that had one password layer and then another set of files that were accessed on some server, supposedly, that each had their own password, and the timetable was 1 day. And that this was a super secret place you couldn't find, but I proved that it was on hundreds, and actually about 1,000 websites that used the same cookie cutter website builder that had exactly the same arrangement, and that the files in most cases were for you to download the logs to see who visited your website. They weren't encrypted illegal pornography. It wasn't Pizzagate data. It was someone literally lying about what he knew. and going out of his way to do everything to make it hard to double check him. But he made a mistake. He verbally explained what the website link was, and I looked it up and I turned off the style sheet and found all the hidden words you can look up that are buried in the page that are just hidden when you don't need them, that had all the other things to look up, including the name of the website, Jimdo, or whatever it was, the company name that wrote the cookie cutter web page that you're supposed to delete. So I looked up the same string of characters and found hundreds of sites with an identical setup. It's not specific to Comet Ping Pong's website. You can do the Googling if you want to, and you can prove this to yourself. I invite you to do that. But I'm the shill for pointing out that someone made either a simple mistake or was just fucking lying. Some asshole, I found his email again in my inbox, I forgot all about him, years ago, told everybody that Antifa was going to start a civil war, which they fucking did not. And he made himself look like he was a federal agent. He was working as an assistant, or maybe as a bounty hunter, for retrieving people who had exceeded their period of time on bail. He's a bail bondsman. That was his job. But he made himself look like a police car and tried to fool people into thinking he was a cop. And eventually sent me a, hey, I'm sorry for putting you on blast, after I literally forwarded his video and his data to the FBI. And he was visited, literally he said this, I was visited by the FBI. Yeah, I'm the fucker who called the cops on you, or the FBI on you, because you lied and claimed to be a federal agent. Impersonating a federal agent is a felony. You lose your right to a gun, and you may spend time in jail. Bare minimum, you're not going to be able to dress up in that fucking outfit you got from some strip joint thing for guys. Seriously, I think he's a male stripper. Anyway, that asset called me a shill. What's his face trying to find the Spear of Destiny thing, who decided to talk about Cicada. Didn't like that I was one of thousands of participants early on in the Cicada thing, and I dropped out because I'm not good enough. He's an ignorant putz who doesn't know shit. And he started making bullshit stories about this very long-running experiment that we really don't know what the origin for it was. And he got mad at me. And his way of doing it was to call me a shill. And take a video I had, cut it up in pieces, and make it say something I never said on purpose. I documented what he said and what I said in comment sections, and put them up on the screen and archived them so that I can't lie about them and prove that he lied. And what did his friends do? Call me a shill. Same thing you're doing. So let's get back to Hoover, Cullen, Johnny Fever wannabe from Las Vegas. He observed something, didn't know what it was, and when he was told what it was, didn't like it because he didn't have anything to contribute to the situation here. He didn't have anything to do a video on. He ignored the response. Most of the helicopter dots and flashes you're seeing are not muzzle flashes. They're dots on the front of airplanes much further away. Flying a helicopter behind the Mandalay Bay would give you a shittier way to shoot just on distance than being at the Mandalay Bay. Shooting from a moving helicopter is a shitty way to shoot. It's not necessary, because if Paddock actually did this a little bit differently, he would have been able to do it without being detected if he knew a simple trick that I know about how the building was constructed that I looked up from looking up the plans when they were available. You can cut a hole in the wall instead of breaking the window. All of this shit points to them not being gunships. There's being no reason to have them be gunships, and people wanting them to be gunships just to look for anything to say other than what the police department said when they were looking inept and, in some cases, sad. We can all critique the police department in Las Vegas, or in Portland, Oregon, or in any city for doing something stupid. That's not a problem. But when they rely on assholes like you showing up, making anybody who critiques them look insane, you're the shill, not us. Got it? If you post this shill speak crap, you are one. We don't need to listen to you anymore. You can even say that about me if you want, because I'm accusing Cullen of maybe being controlled opposition or something. But it's been years later. Now he's doing coronavirus. He made a mistake and wouldn't own up to it. This is a contrarian behavior 101. It means the person does not have the emotional or social upbringing that would require them to be having that type of integrity. He may be great in some other area. I actually watched some of his videos because he contributed something useful many times. Anyway, to ask everybody a question, I need to know what was posted recently in the last 2 or 3 days about this, because I can't find it, that would cause people to find my video about some stupid subject that was debunked literally years ago. Please post below if you know that. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck with that.